Hi, good evening, everyone. I call the Thursday, June 8th, 2023 Peninsula School District Board of Directors meeting to order. This evening we have a special guest with us. I would like to invite Xander from Discovery Elementary up front to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Well done, Xander. Very good job. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there any discussion prior to the vote? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
We'll go with Lori. Is there a second?
Second.
He said it for Chuck. We'll go Chuck. It's been moved by Lori and seconded by Chuck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is carried. The agenda is approved. We have got some wonderful student recognitions this evening. I'd like to invite Aaron O'Neill up to the podium to talk to us about the Varsity Letter and Community Service. Hi, Aaron.
Thank you. So since 2017, Peninsula School District has recognized high school students who volunteer their time and talents to uplift others in our community and region by presenting them with a varsity letter and community service. Our students spend at least 100 hours since last June 15th contributing to our community. Also want to remind us, with our strategic plan, we have a commitment to increase volunteer hours in and out of our community, and we've done that. Since 2017, the most number of students we have ever had receive the varsity letter in community service has been 33. This year, we have 64. It is my honor to share with you in our community that while historically we've had that many students, we continue to outreach, and this doesn't include the number of students who earned less than 100 hours, right? So there's significant more amount in a variety of programs across the district. This evening we have about 20 of these students who are representing the 64 here with us. Their spirit of service is a beacon of hope, reminding us that in a world often filled with challenges, there are those who want to be helpers. They have shown us the meaning of empathy, of kindness, and the power of working together. Working together with our elementary and middle schools to tutor kids, to be a mentor or camp counselor, to coach children in basketball and football, to help prepare food for the hungry at the Tacoma Rescue Mission, to repair bicycles and give them away to kids who might not have them. And then for those, a few of you aren't so people-centered, you help animals. Point Defiance Zoo is one that many of our students have volunteered at. Please join me in recognizing these young people and our students who are here tonight earning the varsity letter in community service. If you would please stand. And you can be seated. Your varsity letter in community service is a symbol of your extraordinary contributions and the lives that you have touched. May you continue to be a light, inspiring others to follow in your footsteps and work towards a brighter, more compassionate future. Thank you for reminding the rest of us here the power of service and the immense impact it has on our community and each other. Next, I want to share something really special. So in the procedures this year, based on the policy, one of the things that we changed for recognition, and I know you all don't do it for the recognition, you do it because you're helpers. But one of the things that we changed is our desire to honor those students who have completed the varsity letter in community service all 4 years of high school. And this year we have our first, and so Jacob Jarvis, will you please stand? So one of the things that they have to do is share an hour tracker with me. And unfortunately, Jacob deleted his hour tracker from freshman and sophomore year. So I'm not able to share with you the total number of hours he's contributed, but it is well over 400 hours in his high school career. So Jacob will be wearing a silver cord at graduation. He's our first and only this year. But you have a couple people here in front of you who are on track, right, to earn it to earn it next year. So that's exciting. Lastly, we're preparing a video of all of the students and their faces and the places that they've served, thanks to Danielle Chastain in our communications department, and it should be ready by the first part of next week, and we'll make sure to send out a link so that you can access that. And then lastly, not here tonight, but I would like to thank Lorraine McCormick, because doing 64 versus 33 takes a little bit more time. And she's one that's worked in the district over 3 decades, getting ready to retire. But without her help, we couldn't have been ready tonight. So thanks to Lorraine. Thank you. We would like to get a picture, if it's okay, with our board members and our students. Of course. Is that all right? So
Aaron,
students, if you
Aaron,
come on.
is that video also going to be put on the web page?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
good,
Yes.
good.
And for those of you interested, our information for varsity letter community service for 23-24 is up and ready. All right. Yay, just in time. Did all the parents get a picture that would like one? Will you share it out? Yes, I'll get a copy and share it out. I do, and it will be in the video as well. Yes, tons. Thank you. All right, students, you are welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting, but also feel free to enjoy your evening. Thank you, everyone.
Before they leave, someone left us in the bathroom. Is there anyone? Can you do a real quick announcement? See?
Yeah, excuse me just a second. Someone left a phone in the bathroom, right? Phone? No.
Someone left the phone in the bathroom.
Chase is out.
Go find out.
All right, we're going to let everyone finish clearing out, and then we'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Erin. Okay, we are now on item 5, comments from the community. I'm not going to read the whole speech again. We have basically, everyone has 3 minutes to speak. When you come up to the when I call your name, please come up to the podium and announce your first and last name. You'll have the timer up there. And please remember that your comments reflect you, so we appreciate civil discourse as always. Our first speaker this evening is Erin McAllister. I'm ready, sure,
Hey, I'm Erin McAllister. I do want to start with today that I have a really great appreciation for what you guys have to do. And the decisions you have to make, I know they're really tough, like, with deficits, things like that. Super not fun. I know none of those are made lightly. And I definitely don't envy you guys that decision. You guys do. Good on you. Wow, good luck with that. I am wanting to talk today, though, about split classes. I know we've done them in the past, and I know they're on the table for the future. And I'm just here to kind of request maybe that we rethink those either entirely or make them as a last resort. And I know, again, you guys have to make decisions up here, but I'm kind of down here at a different level. So, and I say all of this as a parent with the kid in a split classroom who had a fantastic year. He's in a 4-5 split. He did great. You just saw him, Xander. He's awesome. I love that kid. He had a great year. We had a great experience, but I still am here to say, let's rethink those if we can. Because again, I'm in school enough. You guys have to make decisions up here. Discovery doesn't have doors. I hear a lot. I'm out there doing Thursday folders. You just hear a lot and you see a lot. So I was just going to bring that experience to you guys and to your attention. And I'm not talking about your PACE classes. Those are, and again, that's right next door to his class. I hear what goes on there too. Those are designed right for like a 2-year academic cycle. It's different. Those kids know they're in that class for 2 years. These are the ones I'm talking about where it's a 4-5 split for probably that year only, maybe from a class size perspective, from a budget perspective. Those are the ones I'm talking about. And again, we had a great experience. This teacher was awesome and rocked it. But I did get to see and hear what it meant to do that, for the teacher's perspective, from the building's perspective, and from the kids' perspective. And I'm just going to say it's probably just not ideal. Can the teachers do it? Of course they can. You guys hire rock stars. Nothing but good things to say about PSD teachers or any of the PC. I obviously love PSD, big fan. Discovery Color Run, let's do it. But the increase to their workload from the everyday to like teaching just the fourth graders, because they're teaching two different curriculums at the same time to two different sets of kids. And so the increase to workload for them to try and manage that and what that means to their everyday life, can they do it? Yes. Would it burn them out over time? I think it would. And I would be afraid that you would lose some amazing teachers who are like, I cannot do this another year. You probably have some teachers, by the way, who would love it. I don't know where those teachers are. Good for them. Like, wow, I would like to meet that teacher actually, because that teacher is probably an amazing rock star. And then again, it's like this week, let me give you an example. We're building rockets. So we're building rockets for fourth graders. How fun is that? Some of those fifth graders had to go somewhere. So for an hour and a half while we're building rockets, they were able to go with our dean, Nicole Griffin, also amazing. We're losing Nicole next year, right? So we don't even have that outlet. So from a building perspective, it just puts everybody at a little bit of an additional workload. There's more I could say, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. Just wanted to give the parent perspective on that one. Thank you, guys. That's all I have today.
Next up, we have Hannah J.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hannah J., and I am the art specialist of Purdy Elementary School. Each week, I share creative journeys with about 460 students, and I've been teaching visual arts with PSD for 19 years. In 2017, I was the recipient of the Ellen Fay Award for Teaching Excellence, and for that, I am most grateful. Tonight, I would like to begin by extending my full appreciation to the school board and to the PSD for their support in bringing both Linda Miller of PLU in to study our district through the lens of the arts. And I would also like to appreciate you for supporting the grant to bring Arts Impact of Tacoma to our 3 schools as a pilot for perhaps the future of our school district. Before my impending retirement coming up later this year, I would like to share a few observations to the school board and to the Gig Harbor community. And first of all, children are natural artists. Art teaches creativity, exploration, and innovation. The goal number 2 of PSD's strategic plan states that we will develop and adopt practices and programs that encourage children to remain curious, take chances, and learn from failure. The arts are how you will achieve this goal. Arts integrated into the classroom causes students to dive deeper into important concepts and cement the learning, and curiosity and collaboration are developed through the arts. Unfortunately, this is not the experience of all students in our district, and this is why I'm here tonight. To the members of the school board and administration of PSD, I'm asking you to address the inequities of the arts in our district. There are 3 specific examples that I would like to share. The first one is that all elementary schools deserve to have art in addition to music in their curriculum. Only 3 out of the 10 schools have a designated visual arts program. 2, all PSD staff members in the arts need to be funded. Teachers should not have to fund programs out of pocket or hope that a benevolent PTA will bail them out and cover the costs, particularly when not all schools have a PTA. And number 3, all students by the passing of the Washington State Senate Bill number 5878 in March of 2022 are required to have art instruction as core content in the definition of a basic education. I imagine that all of us here tonight would smile to think of a favorite song or a movie, a play or a painting that we've seen. We all have that thing that nourishes our spirit and dusts of the soul of our everyday life. Please give our students in the Peninsula School District an opportunity to find their thing. In conclusion, we need equity in all our schools for the arts. Ultimately, this will create creative thinkers in the future. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Cheryl McIntyre.
Hi, my name is Cheryl McIntyre. I've gone to school in this district since 2nd grade. I am currently the art specialist at Harbor Heights. I minored in art at the University of Puget Sound. I have a K-12 art endorsement. I've been teaching for 35 years, 33 as a classroom teacher, and this is my second year as the art specialist at Harbor Heights. I've taught at 4 schools. This is the first time I've ever been at a school with an art specialist. Art is amazing. It doesn't matter if you're the best reader, if you know all your math facts. Kids feel so successful. They get to experiment with different medias and learn new techniques, and it's so awesome seeing them feel so proud of themselves. I think Picasso says it best, every child is an artist. I'm still in touch with many of my former students who are in their 30s now, and they still bring up the art lessons that I did with them. For many students, as they get older, the arts are what keep them motivated in school. I'd like to share a quote from Harvey Fierstein, an American actor, playwright, and screenwriter. Art has the power to transform, to illuminate, to educate, inspire, and motivate. I believe it should absolutely be a priority to offer several types of art in all schools, including elementary. Thanks for listening. I appreciate your time.
Next up, we have Kara Taylor.
Good evening. Thank you all for your service. I love this district. I'm Kara Taylor. I have been serving on the Parent District Council, and I just want to say I really value that forum for representatives from each of the schools to come together and share what's going on. I'm a mom of a Peninsula High School sophomore who found his thing in the theater, and a Harbor Ridge 8th grader. And I'm here to talk about our policy around digital devices. So I understand you've just come up with some, and this was a topic of discussion at among the parent council members just this week. And we're just mindful that the data is in on the damage that is coming through devices for our students. I'm also outreach director at Chapel Hill, and so I manage a grant program where we partner with a ton of faith-based and non-faith-based orgs, communities and schools, Children's Home Society. I'm attuned to exploitation going on also in terms of global outreach. And I mean, there are predators online. We know this. It's a very unstable environment for young brains, and it came to our attention at that council meeting that there are really different policies across the district so far, which may be totally fine. And I love that we're small enough and kind of autonomous enough to be responsive to what is right for each environment. But I think we need to do some really intentional study. And so I'm just here to ask if maybe that means a task force that is comprised of the different stakeholders around this issue. So parents have concerns, they want access to their kids in an emergency. It's disruptive in the classroom. Teachers have concerns. It's a major classroom management issue. Their literal physical safety is at risk oftentimes with how students respond about their devices. So consistency kind of contributes to some of that, or inconsistency contributes to some of the instability that I think we have in the schools. If there was a common expectation, I think that might help. But we need to look at the data, and now we have our own experiment, right? Because it's been different at Kopachek than Harbor Ridge, so maybe that task force can look at what the different outcomes have been in terms of student behavior, in terms of incidences of bullying, or effect on mental health, effect on the community. How can we empower teachers? How can we help students to thrive? It's an equity issue. So my kids don't have smartphones, and they realize that sometimes they're at a disadvantage for what's going on in the classroom. It's a mental health issue. It's a safety issue. It's a survival issue. I've seen in our church community, people lose their children's lives over this gateway to their well-being. And so I just urge you to create a pathway that we can make a decision together, including all the voices. Thanks.
Next up, we have Stephanie, is it Shore? Scow. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. My name is Stephanie Scow. I'm a nurse practitioner and I'm a spouse of an active duty military member. I have 2 children currently at Harbor Heights Elementary. I'm here to talk to you about a grave injustice that has been done to the students of the Peninsula School District by depriving them of a phenomenal teacher named Mr. Schwartz. Both of my children have had the pleasure and opportunity to have Mr. Schwartz as their teacher. Through my extensive interactions with Mr. Schwartz over the past 2 years, he has exhibited multiple qualities that make an unforgettable and outstanding teacher. He is a mentor to all his students and will mold and nurture strong leaders of our future. A lifelong impression has been made by his efforts to go above and beyond all of his students. Mr. Schwartz has outstanding communication with his students, not only on an academic level, but also on a level that allows them to openly and safely express their emotions and feelings, which is something most teachers I've encountered through my own studies and my children's lack. He is an advocate for each of his students, for their education, their mental health, and general well-being. He creates such a safe and caring environment to learn in. Even students with obvious behavioral issues go out of their way to go to Mr. Schwartz's room to say hi or to talk to him because they know they are accepted and cared for by him. He makes sure his class is an all-inclusive environment and is sensitive to all students, especially around the holidays, understanding that not everyone celebrates or believes in the same thing or has the financial situation at home to afford to celebrate it. I wish I could say the same thing about Harbor Heights Elementary, but I can't. His problem-solving ideas to aid his students in his class to make sure they feel safe and create a trusted space is something you would expect all your teachers to do. Sadly, that has not been my experience. But it has been with Mr. Schwartz. Every time I have observed him teaching, he's always had the kids engaged because he goes out of his way to make learning fun. This is a teacher that my kids and many others will remember by name when they are old enough to have grandkids, because he makes such a positive impact on their life. My daughter actually wants to be a teacher because of him, to be one of the good ones, right? Because she's not had good ones in the past. Not horrible, but he's the good one. My point is, Mr. Schwartz is a teacher who cares an immense amount about his students, makes them feel safe enough to express their feelings, fears, and triumphs, makes all of his students feel equal and cared for. He is their main and sometimes only advocate and always speaks up for them regardless of retributions such as that as you have bestowed upon him. If that doesn't speak to his character and commitment to his students, I don't know what will. I implore you to reconsider Mr. Schwartz's status as a teacher for the Peninsula School District. He's a vital necessity for our children's future education and well-being. If you pass this teacher up, you are depriving your students of the most incredible teacher they will ever have the opportunity to learn from. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move into item 7, reports for the evening. So I'd like to invite John Helwick up to the podium to start off on our elementary specialist program. Oh, John, I'm sorry. Pause. I skipped the entire consent agenda. So hang there for just 1 second. We're going to back up to item 6. Is there any discussion prior to voting on the consent agenda?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'd like to, if we could pull item, let's see, for the policy review, number 5161, and just put it in new business.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. David, did you have something else?
Yeah, I would like to pull consent agenda item number 6.7 for immediate discussion before the vote.
Okay, item 6.7 is approval of the contract with Woodland Industries for the Swiftwater
Yes.
Elementary project. All right.
Yep.
Do you have discussion about it?
Yeah, I'd like to call Patrick up if I could. Hello, Patrick.
Mr. Olson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent.
So I have a couple questions, and I've also received questions from members of the community around this project, and I appreciate the opportunity to revisit it a couple weeks. I know we had it on there a couple weeks ago. So I guess for me, I've been watching this school in the playground area for years since, the school was built. I personally think it's really cool. It takes me back to my own childhood, seeing all the little bikes tossed around the yard out there. Like, they run out, grab a bike, and off they go. And I just think that just looks like an elementary school. And I know that sometimes it rains and the grass gets wet. But I guess for me, I'd like some explanation, if you could, around what is the reason that we're spending $118,000 to add additional bike racks. I don't know why they couldn't be left in the grass. I don't know why we're putting in such fancy bike racks, like instead of like the ones with the little loops, and you put a bunch of bikes instead of just two. So if you could just explain to me what's the reason for replacing the bike racks. And one of the things I didn't see in here too was the funding, is like, how is it being paid for? But if you could just start, like, why are we doing this, if you could?
Yeah, so I'll kind of go back a little ways to design. We've been in a district where we haven't had the opportunity to see what a walk to school, or in this case, clearly a ride your bike to school building. And so we've kind of went with, hey, we don't need bike racks, they're not used. Well, we kind of missed that a lot. I was here yesterday, there was probably, I'm just ballparking, 60, 70 bikes out there. And a few were on the few bike racks that are there, and the rest were just all over the lawn, along the fence, along the window. And so that's been a thing that's basically been since kind of day one. It's pretty cool to watch the kids ride their bikes, come in, see the parents pick them up. So one of the things I was asked to do is, hey, can we put more bike racks in? So we worked with our architect team that helped us design the building and said, yeah, we can do that. So part of the project isn't just, buying bike racks and just putting them in. It's actually, removing some plants. The city's making us, as part of the code, to replant those in other parts of the parcel. Take care of the irrigation, kind of cap that off and remove it, and then pour concrete, and then bring in more bike racks that match what was designed to be part of the building. It is part of the front of the building. We have kind of one opportunity to get it right, to make it look good. We're using capital/state assist dollars for this project. It's not general fund dollars. If we were to try to do this later on in the future, this would be a much harder project to do with that. That's one piece of it. The other pieces of it is that between the covered play and the main play field, there's kind of a grass area that was wetter than expected throughout the winter months. And so we were asked, well, how can we resolve that? And so our design team looked at, well, we could put some drainage in. So it would also include putting in some drains to help move that water from there to the storm down towards pond, then the storm pond further down, as well as put a pathway from the covered play out there, which would help keep the kids from getting their feet super wet in that area. So kind of two pieces of that puzzle. And if you kind of look out there right now, you'll see that it's right where the covered play is. It's the kids play a lot there, get beat up. So having that concrete's also going to help keep from getting the grass wore out there. And then there's another piece where we put some planters inside the play area right by the covered play. Seemed like a really good idea in design. But in reality, kids play and they have balls go and they got all those little plants trampled. And you'll see on one side we have plants on this side of the fence, and on the other side of the fence it's just bark now. So part of that is filling that in with concrete as well. So that project, although I know that the bike rack piece is the one people are latching onto it, there's kind of multifaceted pieces to it. It's trying to do it right, make it look like it belongs to the building, and make it be part of what this building was. We have one shot at it. This is kind of the time, if we want to do it that way.
So is there an expectation that when they build a concrete path, that the elementary kids are going to stay on that path and not go out on the grass?
Well, we hope they go on the grass eventually. We hope they go on the grass eventually. We built the play field for them to play on the grass, right? So it's really, that pathway is to just, it was part of my understanding, talking with the principal and stuff, was that their feet are getting wet and their shoes and socks are getting wet. And, one, can be a little stinky. And two, it's probably a little disruptive. You got wet feet and you're trying to learn and do all the fun things I've heard some teachers talk about, is probably a little distracting. So I think that, trying to get it where their feet are dry for the most part and make it where they can play on the field more effectively would be a good thing.
Okay. I noticed I guess one thing is that the staples or whatever that they use, those high-end looking things that look like they belong in museums for where they park the bike, seem super high-end, and I don't know why we can't go to something like the traditional bike racks with the little smaller staples where you put a tire, and you get a lot more bikes. And why the need? I don't understand why we have to fill this whole thing out. If you have to do it over here, I can see part of that, but why do we have to spend all that money to fill all this in concrete and rip all those plants out?
So one of the things we looked at how many bikes there were, and each of those had, each bike takes up so much space, and you kind of have to factor that in. You can't just slam them in right next to each other and think it'll work. And we did the calculations on it, looked at it, and we came up with that entire area adds about 38 additional bike racks, which there's each rack will get one bike on each side, which get about an additional 76 bikes on it. With what we have now, it'll give us probably right around 84 bikes that could be put on them and chained up to them and be more organized. Do they have to be that same bike rack? Probably not. Could you do something different? Probably. I don't remember the cost on them. I can tell you they're not as expensive as they might look, and because of supply chain issues, we're actually got in front of that because we were worried we wouldn't get them. Based on where we thought we were going with this project, so they're actually here. And I don't have the number on what they cost, but they're on site and we own them already. So,
I guess.
So I would just like to add, so the bike rack cost is a portion. Most of what is on the plan really is mitigation of soil and plant damage, is my understanding, Patrick.
Yeah, it's the site work. So your concrete,
Correct.
the moving the plants, the irrigation, the under drainage, all those kind of things.
Right,
So,
and to code, because you've had to work through with the town.
yes, we work with City of Gig Harbor. They wanted to see our plans. They wanted to approve them. And they did have a few things that they said that if you're doing it, you have to meet these requirements.
Well, obviously, if you move anything, you got to redo everything according to code. So I know that you said this is part of the capital projects funds. It's not coming out of general fund, but I know that we had set aside funds from that for emergent needs. In your opinion, is this an emergent need?
I would say is we've done a lot with those dollars, and one of the big things we did with the emergent needs was the middle school projects, which were a big ticket item, and chewed up a lot of that. But with those emergent needs, you're getting basically brand new remodeled schools, new roofs, HVACs, DDC control systems, boilers, furniture, flooring, walls. So that's a lot of the emergent needs. I would tell you that I would say this is more of part of the project of getting a building right, the first time, and not having something that's lingering for years to come. You can go a lot of different ways in this one. And so it's like, I don't want to say that you have to do any one thing. I'm just telling you what we were tasked with, what the design team, based on what the design of the building was, put together with the knowledge of how many bikes are out there and what the concerns were from the school. And that's how this plan came together. Wasn't to go out and do something overly fancy or to do it, above and beyond. It's just something that kind of fit with what was here and make sure that we're doing it to keep that standard. And like I say, it's like, if we were doing it 5 years from now, I might have a different answer for you. This is one time that we have to do these right. We've done a lot of things on these buildings to make sure they're right for our kids. And I think this is one that you can go is probably right for the kids, right? We see the bikes. We're very excited about it, but we really missed how many kids would ride their bikes. And I think we want to give them that opportunity to lock them up if they do. I know that there's been some conversations that some kids may or may not, but we just want to at least give them that opportunity to keep their bikes secure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just sort of in reviewing the sort of supporting documentation behind it. I think one of the things that, you know, I have a little bit of inside knowledge being an architect, understanding, and same with you, Chuck, being a contractor, understanding what the costs of things are, particularly with site work, with concrete work, with irrigation and whatnot. But probably one of the other things that's helpful to understand is there's an inherent fixed cost of mobilization when you're doing any project. And so the idea is like, yes, we need the extra bike racks. That was identified very early on. But if you're going to mobilize and do the work, the site work to get those bike racks, while you are mobilized, it is actually a lot more cost effective to go ahead and take care of a lot of other things that have emerged over time. But I think that is very hard to capture in a documentation that's understandable to folks. And I think we're used to seeing, at least I know I'm used to seeing in capital projects, change orders that are very itemized and very specific with a dollar value to a, overly technical description of some widget.
You're welcome.
But with this, we don't have that.
Right.
And what does stand out is it basically looks like we're putting a little pad of concrete and some bike racks, and we have this massive price tag.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if there's a way that we can better express the scope and somehow help our community, help us all understand, what those costs of site work is, which is always the most expensive, and you don't see any of it. So it's incredibly frustrating to spend money on things that get buried and put in concrete. And then, and also that cost of mobilization, because the lion's share of this is the mobilizing of crews and the labor and things like that. So I think because this isn't like in change order format, I don't know the answer, if a drawing or if a little bit more schedule of values would help.
So I think we added all the drawings there, and there's the civil and the landscape drawings that are in there. It's kind of, well, we do have a big bid set package, some 80-some pages that goes with it. This was a bid project, just kind of clarifier. It hit that threshold where we put it out to our small works roster. We had multiple bids. 2 were really close to that number. 1 was excessively higher than that by a lot. I think that might be in your bid, in your package as well. So when you look at it, I know it doesn't seem like a lot on there, but when you look at what our consultant said, what their expectations were for cost of the project, what the current market is out there for construction, what the bids came in at, it seems in line. I would love to tell you that it's not that much. I'd love to tell you it's cheaper. I mean, they're my tax dollars too, just like all yours. But that's right now, unfortunately, this is what the cost of doing some things are, is that it's a little expensive out there with construction.
Right, and I don't think there's the concern that it wasn't competitively bid or that we got a fair price. It's just not understanding why, when a scope of like 5 line items that seem like something we do
Right.
at our house by ourselves has a price tag like that. So just how to communicate that a little better, I think, would help us.
I think too, what's missing really is the why. Like you have this in here, there's no background for anyone in the community to look at it and see why, what's the why? There's no why, but we're doing it. So that's what prompted my initial question was, why are we doing this? And it's really, I agree with you, if it was in change order format, which we can't do because it's closed out, it would have been a little bit clearer for me. But for me, it's just missing the why piece. So, but, okay, thank you.
Do you feel that that's cleared up now? Do you have the why?
I have his definition of the why. Whether I agree with it or not, that's not.
Well,
No, I'm just asking.
when I look at this package, one thing I see is that there's already been a lot of costs incurred just putting this bid package together, doing all the surveys for the site, and a lot of planning, and then purchasing the bike racks. And we're coming into summer where this is the time to be doing it. I don't want to delay this. I understand, like you've mentioned, there's a lot of underlying costs that the general person might not see, but there's a lot of components here and each of them add up. And just from my own experience, I am shocked at the cost of concrete today. And so I tell you, when you look at this, you might be looking at prices from just a few years ago. And I want to say concrete is probably 30 to 40% more these days.
I would say easy. Yeah.
Easily. So, and there's a lot of concrete. There's many yards there. So I see the cost. I understand it's also prevailing wage. It's, so I understand, and I would make the recommendation that we move forward with this. There's been already a lot of work, and we've known as a board that this is coming, and we've had an opportunity to review it. I understand the general public might be seeing this for the first time, but we've had the background. So, I want to support the project.
No, just thanks for the explanation. Being married to someone who has been in the site work industry for many, many years, I would say that the price feels outrageous, but it's just typical, unfortunately, right now. But I do appreciate two simple things. To me, it feels a little like building a house and then discovering that your car won't fit in the garage, so you have to park it on the street, which, you can do. But if you have a beautiful new house and then you're having to schlep through the mud to get it, it just doesn't feel like the best. This isn't that bad. But, I just mean, to your point, it's like we should do. But the other thing is that I was here this morning, which is always such a treat, at 9 o'clock or 8:45. And when all the kids, have you seen it? When the kids all come, it's really,
Yeah, I
it's
do have
really
pictures
cool.
if you want me to bring it up. I'm happy
It's
to show
really
you from
cool.
yesterday.
And yes, of course, the bikes can go on the grass and all that. But I think it would be nice to have it finished the way and to have it match and look. But I think the most significant piece, which I am guessing was the initial reason for the question, is I always find things in the budget, trying to look at it as just a outside community member. It's always nice to have a reminder that there's not just one giant bucket of PSD money that pays for all things, because I think that always, whether it doesn't matter what the item is, it's always a little surprising, if not angering, when you think, we're going to spend this money on this when we could be funding, some other department. And so I always appreciate knowing that it's not from the general fund, it's from,
Yeah, and
So
it's
thank you.
one of the unique opportunities we have with the bond, and so appreciative to our community for that, and to get the middle schools on top of it. But yeah, it's, in a few years, all these new schools, it's like anything that we didn't do, we're just not going to get to it, right? There's so many other things out there. I know we've talked about the high schools, and we got a couple of the middle schools, but even those schools built in the 90s are having, those dollars that you get for the general fund for maintenance go right back out really quickly. And there's a lot of things out there, and I'm sure if we talk to a couple principals in the room, they'll even tell you about a few of their experiences recently. So where they have those needs, but it's unfortunate some of the dollars within the capital projects just can't go to some of those things, right? They've got very specific things you can use them for. We want to make sure that we're using them appropriately. We don't want to just, we don't want to get in a situation where we're not doing things properly with that money. And this is one of those rare times where you have the opportunity to do it what I think is the right way. You could have a big conversation around that, what the right way is. But based on what we've looked at and designed, we think that, if this is where you want to go, that's what the cost is. And
Yeah, last thing I'd say is just, not too long ago when we were meeting routinely, when we had all those schools under construction, these kind of things we were kept in the loop with all the time about change orders and things like that. I personally wasn't aware months ago that this was going on when you did the bid. I didn't know that was happening. So, I'm not, and that's fine that happened. It was below a certain threshold that we really didn't need to be. But once it got to where it was, and it was labeled $18,000 for a bike rack, that raised a little alarm. Next time I want Lori to go first, because her analogy about the garage made perfect sense. So I'm
hoping that's not your house, Larry.
Yeah. So the fact that it's coming out of capital project funds is enough to allow me to to move forward with it. I'm just saying, because I know our community, and I do know people look at it as community members, they're gonna ask why, and I didn't see the why. So you've explained it, so I'm just saying, I'll support it based off of my more knowledgeable, colleagues, but I just had to ask some questions.
And I'd say you guys have done a great job. Like we talked about last week, there was concern, got pulled, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago. We've had some conversations. This is what this process is for. And I think this is really good to do that. And I think that the community should be happy that you're doing it, right? Like I'm really excited when you do this. It's like I want to be able to make sure we move forward, that this is what we want for our community. It's right. And if it is, that's great. We'll move forward with it. So I appreciate you guys doing it and going through it. Does make my life a little difficult, but that's not, but that's okay, right? That's all right. I want things to be right. I want to do it right for the community, and this process is really good for it. And you guys have been really good with that. So.
The only last thing, Patrick, I just really appreciate when Patrick comes and says, okay, we really need to do this. I just want to highlight the fact that this is a very unique school, and you built it with a concept that I don't think that you really even understood, because this morning when we were here, every time I'm here, there are dogs and baby carriages and tons and tons of bikes. People are moving here for this very reason. And so these are good problems to have. And I will say that I do know a person whose car barely fits in the garage, and it is frustrating. And so maybe we have to move the tool box, over, because if you can get it right, we want to do it the right way, so that in 10 years we're not saying, oh, I wish that we wouldn't have destroyed all of the grass around here, or I wish that we wouldn't have done X, Y, Z. So I always appreciate Patrick and his vision, and I appreciate this board for creating something that is very, very unique and very, very special for this community. So thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? David, thanks for bringing that question up. I'm sure other people were wondering about that. So Patrick, appreciate you giving the explanation.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for your time as always. I appreciate it.
All right, so we're going to amend the consent agenda. We're pulling from item 6.6, we're going to pull policy 5161 on civility in the workplace, and we're just going to add it as item 10.3 under new business. So is there
9.2? 9.2.
New business. Can I move that we amend the consent agenda?
What did I ask? Yes, but what did you say?
Oh, 10 is the superintendent's report, so it could just go as 9.2.
Mine reads different, sorry, so mine is, okay.
No, it is different.
What do you have?
Yeah, mine reads the same as yours. I think we have.
What's your set?
We're numbered differently on our agendas.
9.2.
9.2.
That's the one online.
The one
Yeah.
online, okay.
This is 8. Old business is 8, 9 is new.
Oh, we're skipped an 8 on our agenda here, that's why. Okay, so we'll just change it to 9. Sorry, just a moment, everyone. So there's only 13 items. Okay. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
I will make a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
Okay, second? Second. It's been moved by David and seconded by Lori to approve the amended consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Consent agenda has been approved. Item 7. All right, now, John, I'd like to invite you to the podium to discuss elementary specialist programs. And thank you for waiting for us on that. I apologize.
No problem. I'm just going to briefly preview the three upcoming presentations. I feel very fortunate to work in a district that calls out in their strategic plan these items: meeting every kid's unique learning needs and interests, integrating learning experiences, giving opportunities to demonstrate curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking, and providing more art, music, and theater opportunities. Sometimes we get stuck in a false choice around arts, and I'm going to give you an example. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to host Pierce County Executive Bruce Danmeyer at 3 schools, at Gig Harbor High School, at Discovery Elementary, and then at Pioneer Elementary. When we were visiting with Bruce in a room of an amazing 3rd grade educator at Discovery named Jennifer Jones, Bruce told a story about a heartbreaking choice that he had to make when he was on the Puyallup School Board. They had to cut art to make room for more science. Jennifer shared with Bruce how in her class they integrate art with other subjects, including science, to enhance students' understanding of standards in multiple disciplines. Art or is not the choice we want. Art and is the choice that we want. And you're going to hear examples of that tonight. So we want to kind of stay away from that false choice. You're going to hear examples of integration, how it helps students understand the connection between standards in different disciplines and how it can lead to deeper understanding of those standards. We're going to start with elementary specialists, then we'll hear from our Arts Infusion cohort of elementary schools, and then we'll hear from our pre-K to 12 arts audit. We acknowledge, we have some great celebrations you're going to hear about, but we also acknowledge, as Hannah mentioned, that there are some inequities and there are some gaps that we have to fill. We're committed to that. It's going to be a multi-year plan, but we have made that commitment to doing that. So to introduce our speakers, here's our Executive Director of our Department of Learning and Innovation, Melissa Wisner.
Everyone's taller than I am. Thank you, John. Thank you, school board, for asking about this very important group of teachers. And I have notes because if I just go off the cuff, you know me well enough that I'll just go on. So we have a lot of great things to discuss this evening. First of all, I want to thank you all for the opportunity that you provide all of us to honor and recognize our students. So, you know, last time I was here, I got to talk about our students who had multiple languages and had been honored with global certificates in that. And you saw, of course, this evening, the wonderful opportunity and the diversity of students who received letters for community service. And I know community service is called out in our strategic plan. So I really thank you for making students first and focusing on all the ways we can honor students. I'd like to talk also about, we have some specialists here, some elementary specialists, but we also have some secondary music, art, PE, STEM teachers here. So if you are one of those, either an elementary specialist or a teacher of something that is not reading, writing, math, social studies, science, specifically, I know that you integrate those. Would you please stand so we can recognize you for that? Thank you for being here. I'd like to say that specialists play a unique role. They see all students in a school, and they see those students over the course of a child's K-6 career. And they have an opportunity to nurture and develop a relationship with the students that general classroom teachers don't always have, because they have them, I'm just thinking, can you imagine the first day of PE in kindergarten, how much fun that must be? And then to think about all the things that they've accomplished doing over the course as the last day of PE with 5th grade. So it is a unique position and a unique perspective. I'd also like to share that our specialists, so art, PE, music, STEM, they provide opportunities to students that are similar, but again, unique to classroom teachers. Each child has particular strengths and interests. Specialists provide opportunities for students to feel success beyond academics. I'm not saying there are no academics in the specialist areas. There certainly are, but they aren't the focus of that. And so a child that maybe is struggling with math, right? Because we all know that the multiplication tables are the bane of 5th grade. Any 5th grade teacher will tell you that, memorizing those. But you know, they love art, they love PE, they want to be out, they love music, so they feel successful in places that may not be in the general classroom, but they feel success, and that's what's important to us, and that we honor that. All right. And I also want to point out, and I'm not going to, the reason I'm giving you an overview is I'm not going to read the slides. You have them in front of you. If you have questions, of course, we're happy to answer those. But I also want to say that specialists seek opportunities to collaborate monthly, right, during our Wednesday morning meetings. They collaborate within their groups, so music teachers meet together. Oftentimes, we see them collaborating across the bands, so we have K-12 music teachers that have an opportunity to meet, K-12 PE, so that's a different kind of conversation, a vertical conversation which really enriches the work of the teachers. Oh, this is what you're doing in 5th grade. This is what I can expect to be doing in 6th grade, and so on. But they also work within the building with each other. So some examples of that that are in the presentation are the cardio drumming or dancing. Anytime that we have PE and music or PE and art or music and art together, it is an opportunity for those specialist teachers to work together to even broaden more so the opportunities available to our students. All right. So what I've given you is a table that explains a couple of questions that I asked the groups. What is the range of the number of times you see each class? You can see that it varies across, right, depending on how many sections there are of a classroom. So in reality, the smaller schools see their specialists more often. The larger schools don't see them as often because of the number of classes that there are. I do have the clicker. I'm like, why isn't Tanya moving that for me? Thank you. I asked them about what are the typical number or the average of school-based performances or performances in the evening. So you can imagine that there were a lot for music and the arts, not so many night performances for PE, and just a variation for STEM. And the amount of work that goes into evening performances is immense. There's a lot of collaboration. Teachers aren't not doing this during the course of the day, right? This is extra hours afterwards to do this work. And I would say in terms of PE, they often join in. As an elementary principal, I never just did one thing. We had as many opportunities for parents to come and spend their valuable time at the school. So we were talking about reading and book fair and jump rope for hard. I mean, we did as much as we could. So they do collaborate more than I think they know they do. And I asked them about school-based performances, and again, it varies depending on the school and what they have going on. Of course you can.
So the title is PE, Music, STEM, and Art, and you have 3 columns.
Mm-hmm.
So why is art not on there? How many times do we have an art specialist see our students per week?
It depends again on the school, David, just like it does for PE and music. And not all of our elementary schools at this moment have art specialists. There are 4. So I chose to have them in a different category. And I'm actually going to bring Carmen Fuhrer up. She is our district hands-on arts coordinator, and she's going to speak more specifically around art. The 3 that I chose to focus on in this particular table are the 3 that every student has. Every school has these.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was a good question. So over the course of the next few slides, which I am not going to read, I've given you some more information about what STEM specialists do. And one of the questions I asked them that I thought was very interesting was anything that is unique or special to them. And I have been very, very fortunate to have supported elementary or district music, district PE, and the arts. And for a while, Dan Gregory and I had the great honor to share the K-12 science TOSA, and we were very excited, as were the teachers, when we hired Ashley Ortenzo to come in and do that work for us. But lots of different things that came into play. So as I'm looking here, should match this up. If we look at music, the things that they were able to do and what they are accomplishing in music, better self-confidence. Kids can learn teamwork. When do we have an opportunity to do that, right? And how many times can we make that opportunity, give that opportunity to kids? And how important is that beyond the classroom? right? What are employers today looking for? Right? They want students who can obviously read, write, and are proficient with math. But they're also looking for kids who are creative and can think outside the box and can work with each other. So, and that isn't just music. That is really PE, music, STEM, and of course what happens in the general ed classroom. The next slide talks about PE and some of the things they've been doing, and I'm going to share this with you. This is an example of that integration that we mentioned earlier. So you have Dancing with the Stars. Who knew we were doing Dancing with the Stars? And so Mr. Aston, who's a PE teacher, and Mr. Burns is doing that with music. And I've been at other elementary schools as well where we have the PE and the music teacher working together. So it's a great opportunity for kids to see that and have different opportunities like this. I think PE looks very different today than PE when I was in elementary school. That's really a good thing, and I would be a much happier elementary student if PE looked different for me then. All right, to go more in depth in art, I'm going to bring Carmen up as I explain, but do you have any specific questions that you would like to address with STEM, PE, or music? Again, those are the three that we have in every school. Of course.
I was just looking at your schedule, and so it will say, I understand based on the number of classes in the school, it might be different number of class visits, but in each school, do they have a consistent time? I was under the impression it was on their schedule. So if at school, Swiftwater, for example, a kindergarten class goes to PE every Tuesday at 10:30, is it that consistent in their schedule, or is it?
I think it depends upon the school. I think Pioneer does a slightly different rotation, but once this master schedule is set at a school, it's pretty well set. And we have a couple of elementary principals here. Unless something happens and they have to add a section or a section is reduced after the schedule is created, you know, if Miss Wisner's third grade class has PE on Wednesdays and then maybe every other Thursday or something, that's pretty much set. Is that correct, principals? So it is fairly consistent through the year.
Thank you.
Can you tell me, I've been an advocate for music for years, and I've said many times, I think all of our kids in elementary school should learn how to read music and play an instrument in elementary school. What are we doing for the elementary school kids across the district as far as art? Are they learning to read music, or are they just playing a recorder? What does music consist of for our youngest learners?
If you want specific answers, I'd really want to turn that over to an elementary music teacher, because I'm not in the classroom with them. I agree that reading music is reading, because what reading actually is at its core is reading symbols and interpreting symbols and bringing meaning to those symbols. And that's what we do when we learn to play an instrument. So they're very much, it's just like the other thing is, and I'm not the art expert, but how do you read a painting? What are you looking for? What's the comprehension? What vocabulary do you need? What inferences are you making, right? So.
And that's why I've said before, is that there's so much science behind a student that can read music and play a musical instrument, the stuff that goes on in their brain to be able to do that is so helpful in so many other subjects, especially math.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. That's a great point.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions on the big three? All right. So Carmen, if you would come up, and I'm going to give her the microphone. And
I really didn't know I was speaking, and now I'm embarrassed because here I have framed artwork. So I'm like, really, I didn't know. But
yeah.
I have that there.
I'm going to be the Vanna.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was really bringing them for Linda to see, but I'm happy to share them with you. And I do know, I can speak to, not to answer a question for Melissa, but I do know that pretty much all the fifth graders do the recorders, and they are learning to read music that way, because I have a fifth grader and we did lots of recording, and they had a concert just here a couple weeks ago. So they are doing that. But thanks for having me. So I'm Carmen Fuhr. I'm the district coordinator for Peninsula Hands-on Art. I'm really excited to be here, and I just want to really thank the district for supporting this program. So you have all my information up there, but really 19 years ago, this program started with Marla Morgan and a group of parents at Harbor Heights that saw the hole that we had in art. And not to fight why we have it, why we don't, we just want to get more of it. But I'm very grateful to have this position. It's been so fun and so rewarding. And as you know, we do 4 projects a year. So a lot of you, you've all had kids through the district. So most of you have had them and done the projects, and they're amazing. And every year we get to do 4 new projects concentrating on different mediums. So it's fun. We hands-on art. We cultivate the artist. We do videos. We train parents. One of the trainings happens here every time at Swiftwater. We go to Harbor Heights. We go to Minter. We train the parents. We have the volunteers. It's a big love factory of loving art and supporting our children. And to get to do this is such an honor. And I know every parent loves this program. They come up, they share their experience. They love if one kid did the salmon, all their kids have to do the salmon. They hang them up on the walls. It's really important to have, that represented. And the other unique part is it's an inclusive program. Every child in the district has access to this program. So one school, if every kindergartner is doing it at Minter Creek, everyone's also doing it at Evergreen and Swiftwater. And I think that's beautiful. It's the one thing we can say, oh, hey, you did this. We're all doing it at the same time, and it's a way for parents and community members to get involved. And I realize I'm talking too long, but I can show you, we just ended, this is our one we're doing right now. This is Sue Me, and I know that some of you have been able to see that. So just for the kids getting to use the rice paper and use use ink. I mean, this would be unheard of anywhere. And that's the beauty of this program, is having this partnership, and it doesn't happen anywhere. You go to any school district, and we have a nonprofit partnering with the school district in harmony is amazing. More people should do this, because it's really, I can raise the funds, I can do it, it supports all the kids in the district, and it you don't have to pay for any of the supplies, which saves a lot of money. So we ended with this one. We have the Picasso, and then we started with the salmon. I think I'm holding it the right way. And then we also always have a 3D, but it's hard to transport those because I'm always afraid I'm going to break them. But they got to work with clay, and it was wonderful, and they made gargoyles. And just on Friday, I'll just tell one little story. I had a multi-language learner in Mrs. Maxwell's class at Harbor Heights, and I did her class all year round. And he came up to me the last, and he always did well, but this project with Sumi, it touched him. He literally was like, what is this? Write this down. I wrote it down in Spanish for him. I wrote it in English. He wanted to purchase these supplies. He loved it so much. He asked for extra rice paper. Even him grasping that he's using ink, and he's using a wolf brush, a brush made of animal hairs and bamboo, and just that paper. He just really spoke to him. And those are stories that you hear time and time again, and you never know what art medium is going to speak to a kid, and that's why we have to show it all to them. And I'm hoping that I see our district have art specialists at all our school eventually. But again, thank you for supporting Peninsula Hands-on Art. It's a beautiful program. It's a beautiful partnership with the district. And I think I talked too long. Sorry. Yeah. But do you have any questions about hands-on art in general? David?
First, I've known Marla for a long time.
Yes.
Her daughter went to school with my kids. She's as passionate
yes.
as you are, that's for sure.
Oh no, I got to walk into this, and I'm eternally grateful for her and all the parents that, it's not that they had to fight, but they did have to fight to create it. They created a nonprofit. They created a beautiful program that is sustaining, and it reaches nearly all our kids in the district, nearly 4,000 kids.
Yes, I know we've been, over the years, working to expand communities in the school district. So what can the board do to help hands-on art expand in the school district? If we're missing art specialists in certain schools, how can we utilize hands-on art to make up for that gap?
We have the 4 projects a year, which I think, our projects are long. So they take anywhere, like we get precious class time by educators where we have the volunteers come in and we get an hour to 2 hours sometimes for each project, which is lovely that all our students get that much concentrated time to do these projects. So we feel that 4 projects is a great amount for the year. We have our own board for Peninsula Hands on Art. I like to support teachers if they need supplies. We're working on having an art library. We're like, hey, like any extra supplies I have, I pour back into the classroom. Like if there's a maker space, I'm just giving them the items because they were purchased with grant money. I write it into the grants. This is, if we have left over here, I can't use it for the next project, but there's going to be a teacher, a kindergarten teacher that, I could use 30 of these canvases for Mother's Day gifts. So trying to do that, and I just want to increase having those supplies. Art supplies do not come cheap. I understand how it's really costly to have those in the budget for each school. So that is my goal and future goal is getting more funding for that, how I can create those avenues. So then I'm hoping that educators and principals can be like, hey, Carmen, we need this. Do you have this? And then I can be like, yes, I do, because I know how expensive it is. Like the glue sticks, this last project, were disappearing because we're just at the end of the year and glue sticks in general. So, and that's okay. I can turn a blind eye and just buy more glue sticks because I know we need to have the tools in the classroom and we need to have everything, so these kids can, just like my little kid in Mrs. Maxwell's class, like I feel he's going to be a famous artist. He was so passionate about this. It just, eyes opening, and it was beautiful. And you all know how art speaks to kids like music does, and how everybody feels success in it. And that's the beauty of it. And these projects are amazing where you really do see success from kinder up to 5th. I feel we have like a 95% success rate. Sometimes papers are ripped, but that happens with everything. Yeah. Any other questions? Sorry.
Just to clarify, you do 4 projects a year at each school for K through 5th.
K through 5th. But this, I am, for credit retrieval, some of the high schoolers are going to redo some of our projects because why not? If I have the materials, I think there's like 20 to 30 kids. And so Melissa hooked me up with the educator who's going to be doing summer school, because that's easy enough for me to be like, hey, let's see how you redo this project. It has the history lesson there. You just go a little bit more in depth. And obviously, even if they did it in kindergarten, they're probably, it's going to look a little different as, juniors and seniors. So we're kind of like, as I'm going through stuff and I'm like, oh, hey, they can redo this project. I was able to save a little clay. They're going to be able to make gargoyles. So it'll be kind of fun to see what they do. And it's just a way for also that educator to not have to worry about the art component of the credit retrieval. We've got that covered,
So that's a credit retrieval for high school?
I think so, through the summer. I think that's what it's called, right? Yeah? Yeah. So for summer school, so they're going to redo some of the hands-on art projects. I thought it would be, why not? I mean, like I said, they're still getting the history. They can dive into it a little more because, as you know, we have a history component as well with our program. It's an all-encompassing visual art. So they get a lesson along with it. The videos, I have all the links that feel free to peruse, It linked you to the salmon, and so it's great. Yeah, it'll be fun to see what they do. Yeah.
I still have my wire guy walking a dog. It is proudly displayed.
That Giacometti. So next year,
like fancy art. I'm not gonna lie.
It is fancy, and Giacometti is one we'll revisit with a very famous Marty Rees next year to be our 4th project of the year, because we need those kindergartners to get a little bit more dexterity. Yeah. And we'll still need volunteers to be twisting that wire. So, we already have our project set for next year, and I'm happy to share those with you too, because obviously I have to plan for that. And come July 1st, I'm ordering supplies. Got to see where the deals are at.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Just like concrete, oil pastels are also up 40%. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's true. So paper, who knew paper could be so expensive? I mean, really. Sorry. Okay.
Well, thank you. We are so grateful. I think I speak for all of us. It is a fantastic program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for supporting it, and thank you for the district for supporting it all these years. And again, to Marla and all her friends who started this as just parents who wanted cool art projects. And then it got into all 10 of our schools. It was just that, even when my kids started in this district a long time ago, it wasn't at all of the schools. Yeah. So, and now it is. So that's a very proud moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So again, you have the report. You can go over it if you have questions. You know how to reach me. I'm happy to answer those questions. If there's specific questions, I really probably will. I will reach out to elementary music teachers or PE or STEM specialists to get you the answers exactly. And again, thank you for highlighting these very important specialists and the work that they do. They really do enhance everything that happens in our school. And it's been a pleasure to be up here and talk to you about this part of it.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Melissa. Any other questions on specialists? Fantastic. Okay. All right, item 7.2, we have got Todd Herring from Minter Creek and Christy Brooks from Purdy Elementary School. They're going to come up and talk about the Arts Impact Project.
Which side do you want? No. We have to share the podium.
I'll take this side.
No, I'm just kidding. Good evening. Thank you for having us here. I'm Christy Brooks, the proud principal of Purdy Elementary, and this is ta-da!
Todd Herring, principal of Minter Creek.
And thank you for allowing us to share our journey with arts impact and arts innovation in our schools. And we've been working all year. We started with a dream. We went and saw a school together, as well as with Discovery Elementary, Delana. And I know she apologizes for not being here, but she's at her daughter's recital, so. Oh, I thought you were going to say she does not. She asked if we would excuse her, and we thought that we could do it without her, but she did help us with the presentation, and she's a great, important part of our team as well. So I put a quote on there, "Creativity is contagious, pass it on," by Albert Einstein. And that's because what we've started this year with our dream, gosh, it's just been rippling, and it has been contagious, and we've seen it going through the district, and it's been so exciting to see the impact on not only our schools, but the kids, the teachers, and the whole district and community as well. So we started with a dream, but how do you do it without any money? Concrete's expensive, but so is art. We got together, the three of us, and with support from district, and John Helwick and Lisa Ray helped us write some grants, and we were able to get some grants and get some funding to support arts impact coming into our schools and providing professional development, not only for our schools, but it ended up being for other schools as well. With the grant, we were able to have 3 teachers in each school trained by a mentor from Arts Impact, but after we negotiated, because we're persuasive, they allowed us to have 4 teachers from each school, and then we were also able to have any staff member that wanted to join and have that professional development. And we were so excited to see over 45 teachers in August on their day off come in, and they were excited about learning, and that's what we want. So we had trainings, we had lessons, we have mentorships with the funding that we've gotten, so it's been exciting.
So for those who aren't familiar with Arts Impact, it's a national organization. I want to say worldwide, but I think it's just national. But they go around to schools and school districts and really work with the teams. They have the teachers who are in the buildings work with local artists and really have that mentorship, and it's a year-long commitment and it's a year-long partnership. And so that's a super, super small snapshot of what Arts Impact is. But so we wanted to include some data, some numbers behind that impact. And so what you see up there is over 250 students in those classrooms where the teachers were partnered up with those mentors. And that is the smallest number of impact. And so over 250 of our students have had arts infused into their daily lessons throughout the year. And then if you look beyond that, school-wide impact through participation in assemblies or participation in end-of-the-year activities, which we'll go into in a little bit. But so 3 different schools, the entire school has been impacted in different ways as well. And so then as you go down further, like Christy shared, we had 12 teachers that participated, 4 from each school, and had that mentor working one-on-one with them, and then also working collaboratively as an entire building and district-wide. And so then beyond that, we had over 60 teachers participate in some of that development. We were very fortunate that Arts Impact said, we had a lot of collaborations with them, and they saw the value in not just having those 12, but how do we impact even more? Because obviously that's a big goal there. So yeah.
Wondering, how did you pick the 4? Because I would imagine they would, thinking myself, if I were a teacher, I'd be clamoring to do this. So how did you pick?
It was an opt-in type of thing. So we went to our staffs and said, hey, here's an opportunity. We want to pilot this. We obviously were excited, and we wanted to get them excited too. And if you force someone to do something like this, there's all kinds of problems that come along with that. So it was an opt-in. And then we kind of had to select. So me personally, in our building, I think we had 7 that wanted to do it. And so in talking with them, a couple of them said, yeah, I can wait because this is also going to be a multi-year thing. So some of them said, well, I'm going to be busy doing X, Y, Z, so I don't mind waiting. And so it was really a collaborative discussion. And I think that was a fairly similar approach to the other buildings, was just working together with all those that were interested. And then it is tough, but kind of had to go down to those 4.
Well, in the grant, one of the grants was a preschool through 3rd grade early learning grant for the arts, and so we did focus more on our primary. So we had a preschool teacher, kindergarten, 2nd grade, and then we were able to add an intermediate as well.
Because not all the grants were, K5, K3. Some had, but so we had to have some of that component as well. So that did help a little bit there. And I was fortunate, our librarian jumped on it and loved it. So even though he's not certificated, we were still able to incorporate him in, which was great. And then you look down there, so we've had, so 60 of our elementary teachers, over 60, came to be part of that, where just everyone come in, be part of the learning. So even though they didn't have a mentor, they still learned some of that, so they could take it back to their classrooms and really implement and integrate some of these. And then the 100+, so we had during our PSD UDL day, where teachers had options to go around, and this was preschool through 12th grade, that they had the option of kind of menu where they wanted to go. We had over 100 teachers choose to go to some of our arts infusion. And so, and I know there are a lot of high school folks at that, so I don't have their data, but I know they integrated that into their classrooms. And so, like I said, it's contagious, right? It just kept spreading, keeps spreading, and this is year 1. And then you look at our community engagement. So between our 3 schools, between the events that we had, the culminating activities, and we probably were too conservative with this, but had over 2,300 people in attendance at our multiple events. And so you see how this just keeps exploding and booming.
And every child participated in sharing their learning. It's exciting.
And so kind of we alluded this a little bit. So next steps, we want to increase the capacity, right? So that's our goal. So how do we take the ones that are doing it this year and continue to expand them, and how do we bring new ones on board? So every year we want to bring 4 new teachers in to do this mentorship, and it's a multi-year commitment that we have with Arts Impact. And so right now we're through some of the grants, we've got enough money raised for a large portion of it, but we're still about 7,000 short. So there's different things that we're looking for, other grants or anyone who just wants to donate, those type of things. And Delana has been working with a group about possibly looking into like a yearly donation type of thing, where just a partnership. So we've been doing a lot of that, and it's a lot of work, but it's for the right reasons. And anyway, yeah.
I don't know if this is in the discussion that's coming up next about the arts audit, so I may be jumping ahead. When you're talking about 4 new teachers at each school, are you talking about the current 3 schools or all elementary schools?
So right now, just the 3 schools. There's been a couple schools that are interested in listening and like, ooh, and some of those people that did the UDL training on those days are talking to their principals and saying, hey, let's get on board. Let's do something. So again, it's kind of spreading, but we're just talking about the 3 schools because that's what we've committed to, and that's where we're at. But the potential is to bring on more schools.
So my wife was an art teacher, and she taught elementary school art, and that's all she did every day. Art every day, all day, teaching different classes. Does Purdy and Mentor Creek have dedicated art teacher as well that that's all that teacher does is teach art?
Well, we are fortunate right now to have Hannah J. who spoke,
Yeah.
but she is retiring.
Yeah.
And we're crying, but we do have a great person who's going to replace her. But I think that's the challenge is our specialist is based on enrollment. So because my school is larger, I get to have an art specialist teach art to all kids. Because Todd's school at Minter is smaller, they had an art specialist, but then when their enrollment went down, they lost art completely. So what we're trying to do with Arts Impact is help teach also our classroom teachers learn how to integrate it into reading, math, social studies, and science so that kids are getting it every day in the classroom as well. And we'll show you some examples of that, but we've seen so much power in not only having an art specialist at a school, but also seeing teachers infuse it into the everyday curriculum, because that's our responsibility as educators, not just to educate the core curriculum, but to teach our kids to be well-rounded, creative, and innovative through the arts, as well as the science and reading and math.
I remember probably my second or third school board meeting 10 years ago, I made a comment that I thought that we were putting too much emphasis in K-3 on rote learning, and members had not, they weren't having enough fun, and that I said our little learners like that, K-3, need to be having fun and being able to use art and music to learn the skills that they could normally use for the awful rote learning. And so I'm sort of disappointed to hear that we don't have art specialists in every school, and only in, it sounds like 3. What is the enrollment number that allows the elementary school to have a dedicated art specialist? What's the enrollment number?
Well, that's a great question.
You don't know what
It's provided by FTE, but I know that, based on our enrollment of approximately 470 students, we get 4 specialists FTE to help support our teachers during the day to get their plan time adequately. And for all of our schools, we at least all have PE, music, and a STEM specialist. And so those of us that have larger schools have in the past been able to have a 4th specialist based on our enrollment. And we've been, it's been chosen differently. And so at Purdy, we've had art. At other schools, I know they have like maybe a character specialist. So I know that the district is working at aligning our schools along with what state requirements are and what's best for kids. And so I really appreciate that we had Linda be able to come in and look at the arts that you'll hear about school-wide and district-wide so that we can be equitable for all schools. I think that's a really great point.
I don't know if Dan or John can answer it, is why do we not have a dedicated art specialist in every elementary school? I just don't, first off, I didn't know we didn't. And so I guess my question on that would be, if there's a dedicated art specialist in the class, do those kids get a dedicated half-hour, hour every week that's part of their weekly agenda? Is it a drop-in, or is that a dedicated art class that all the other schools that don't have one are not getting that opportunity?
Correct. So we have an art specialist. Our students get 40 minutes once a week. And then Todd, you don't have that at all.
Right.
Correct.
When we did, it was just within our specialist rotation. So an example might be Monday they have PE, Tuesday they have STEM, Wednesday they have, so it was just within that specialist rotation.
Yeah, so where I'm leading you on this is you guys are lucky your students get that time every week.
Right.
With art.
We are.
With their art, okay?
But
So the schools that don't have a dedicated art specialist, what do they get during that time? What subject are they learning?
So for
It's not
instance,
art.
Minter Creek, we have 3 specialists.
I'm not talking about you, saying the other schools, elementary schools that don't have.
Right, we don't have an art specialist.
Oh, you don't?
No,
Oh, you
he does
don't
not.
know more
No.
because of
Correct.
your FTE?
Yeah, so as
what-
our FTE went down, the allotment came and so we have 3. So we don't have a
What'd you
dedicated art
replace it
tech.
with, as I guess then, I forgot you said you lost yours.
Yeah.
What do you replace that hour of art with?
We don't. So the,
4 rotations, you
yeah.
have 4 40-minute rotations possibly.
Whereas we have
For example,
3.
You have 3 40-minute rotations.
So
that 40
kind-
minutes is just.
kind of where Melissa was talking about, everyone gets a slightly different, right? So in our case, we have an A, B, C Monday through Thursday schedule, and then we have an A, B, or a D, E Friday schedule. You don't want to look at it. But so like we might go Monday they have PE, which means Thursday they'll also have PE, and then the next week they might only get it once. So we do have a specialist rotation, but we just don't have art within that rotation.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
So my point is exactly that schools that don't have an art specialist are not getting
Correct.
art, period. They're not getting art.
They're not getting a dedicated art time,
Right,
correct?
and that's what
Yep.
disappoints me.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Thanks.
So I might suggest, so these three schools are really talking about how to infuse
Arts infusion.
visual arts. You do have art specialists, but it's a music, right? So you
Correct.
have performing arts as a specialist, music. And then STEM, I would imagine STEM probably took the place of where you used to have arts.
Well, we've had STEM along the way. So, but
Okay.
you make a good distinction between an arts specialist versus a visual arts or a performing arts or, so there is many forms of art. So true, we do not have a dedicated visual arts specialist.
So your presentation is really to talk about how you are infusing it into your classes. The next presentation will really be the audit and what we have and what we do not have.
Thank you.
You are an advanced learner, so I just wanted to make sure that we kind of made that distinction.
Yes, and we, as we think about the arts, really focused on dance, dance and performances, and visual arts as well. And then we know we already had music, both of us, so that three of us, so that was really great. So when you think about the professional development that we all had together, the three schools, it was really exciting. You can see some of the pictures where you can see the teachers having fun and learning, and so they were able to take that learning and share it with students, and you'll get to see some examples of that. But these are preschool teachers, classroom teachers, specialists, counselors, all kinds of educators participating. And so we spent 4 days throughout the year with Arts Impact, getting trained on dance, performance, and visual arts, and I learned a lot as well. It's great to be able to be a learner and a leader at the same time. I was really proud of our teachers too, because while they were learning, they allowed other teachers to come in and observe them as they were learning and growing and being mentored. And that takes a lot of courage, and that's exactly what we want our kids to be able to do and see as well. But also what was really valuable is what we were learning with the dance and the movement and the visual arts was we were doing it aligned to core standards, and so we focused on mathematics this year. And so you'll see some examples of how teachers in the classroom integrated arts and movement at Purdy into mathematics, and you'll see other examples from Mentor and Discovery as well. And so I also really appreciated that we were able to provide this opportunity for high school staff members at our district-wide PD Day, so it was really exciting to see. Okay, so the mentorship, like we said, we had 4 teachers at Purdy who were mentored by someone from Arts Impact. We had a preschool, 2nd grade. We also had a 4th grade teacher and a kindergarten teacher. And there's an example up there of 2 different lessons that were created by the teacher with the mentor as they worked together. The Shape of Me was a kindergarten mathematics lesson that you'll see in a video at the end, and then Place Value Bop Bop, where kids were learning tens, hundreds, thousands, and they were showing place value with movement, and the kids loved it, and the teachers had a great time too. But we know that through brain science that movement helps you learn, and the kids were able to be creative and show. You can see the kindergarten teacher in the bottom. The kids were making shapes that were intertwined together, and it was just magical to see. The kids were excited, and the teachers shared that all of the kids were successful on the assessment, and they really believe it's not just because they weren't learning just rote memory facts. They were actually moving and using both sides of their brain. So it was real exciting.
And then, so at Mentor Creek, we had the focus of infusing visual arts and math. And so all three of us did math, we just did 3 different ways, and it'll rotate. So next year we get dance, and so it'll rotate around, which is awesome. And next year we're focusing on ELA. Well, you look there in the middle, and TK, which has just been such a blessing to have this year. Anytime I'm having one of those days that I just like, I go sit on the carpet and hear the stories. I encourage you to always go to TK whenever you have a chance. But they were doing shapes in there and about proportions and this was their first lesson. And then the next one they did like size and a little bit more on proportions. And so they got to cut different shapes, and that shape in small and medium and large and progression, talking about beginning and I mean just all the things that were incorporated into just a math and art lesson. Down there on the lower right, they were working on cityscapes, and the amazing mentor artist that we had come in, Valencia, she did a fabulous job of reading this story about cityscapes and just about all the experiences and just all the shapes that are in the world and getting them thinking in those terms. And so they use geometry to create these cityscapes. And then you see on the left and the upper right just ways to integrate just patterns and rhythm and all the things that are math. And it was just magical to see how it goes. And like Christy said, the engagement is off the charts. There wasn't a single child in any of these classes like, or bored or whatever. They were in it and they were loving it and learning math through and if you ask them, are you learning math? They'd probably be saying, well, no. But then afterwards you talk to them, and then of course the teachers then did a wonderful job of coming back, yeah, you did, and here's why. And then afterwards they're like, oh, that was math. Yeah, that was cool. Looking at Discovery, they infused drama and social emotional learning, which was their focus. They also did some math, but these pictures are mainly focused on the social emotional and really sharing who they are and what makes them up, and how taking turns and how to get along. And it's just all the things that are who we need to be and how to be good humans, how to love ourselves, how to love each other. And I apologize, I forget his name, but this actor up there has so much stage experience, and those were his years, and he's been in movies and all these things. And he said this is by far his favorite job ever, and he just loves getting in with the kids and sharing his gift. And all of our artists were amazing. It's just, you can't say enough about it, but just all the different ways to integrate and infuse art into everyday has been hugely powerful.
So we all wanted to end with a culminating event that our community could participate in and see the learning of our students and our teachers. And gosh, I can't say enough about how I was just as a principal blown away by what our school came together and did. It's just more than I could have ever imagined. It's really been, gosh, I get emotional, Hannah J. It's been incredible to see. And so we did Arts Around the World, and each grade level picked a different continent. And so that by the time the families came, they were able to travel throughout the world at our school. And then as they go through the grade levels, they can travel throughout the world and learn about the different continents and countries. And the students, as they looked at the continents and learned about different countries, they shared their learning in the hallways, and the hallways came to life. We had the Amazon down the hallway, and the kids learning all posted, and you'll see some examples of that, and the kids were able to share. We had 3 musical performances throughout the night by different grade levels. We had dance demonstrations by 5th grade throughout the night. And you can see in that hallway in the top corner how many people were there. You couldn't even walk down the hallway. I went to go down there because they were serving smoothies, and no, you couldn't even get down there. So it was really incredible. And we asked the teachers to pick one art form, either dance or performance or visual art, but most of them did all 3. It was quite incredible. And here's an example of kindergarten. Come to Africa, to the savannah, and play I Spy and see if you can find different animals through our lion artwork, see our animal reports, play a drum to an African song, and challenge your family to a game of Mancala. So that was one grade level kindergarten. It was incredible. So just so exciting to see kids excited about learning, but our families as well.
And so Discovery, another theme is you just look at how many people this impacted and how many, and the stands are full and the crowds, and they're engaged, the adults, the kids and all that. And that the theme just goes throughout. So this was an arts event specifically towards that. And even though, and down in the lower right, you see Mr. Pleasant, just an amazing guy. And he was the one who worked with Purdy, but Discovery had him come out and do some work there as well. So just integrating all the arts into everyday stuff and doing it with the whole community. Here at Minter Creek, we looped it into our STREAM night. So instead of doing STEM night, STEAM night, excuse me, instead of doing that, we also added the A to make that art. And so these were a couple of the stations that families and students could participate in. So Valencia is over there, who was our mentor artist on the right there with the beautiful pink crown on the top of her head. So, and everything is just infused, and it's every day. And again, just keep going back to the impact on how many we hit in just 1 year, and the engagement is off the charts.
So we just wanted to end with this video. I know we've probably taken too much time, but it's so important. I'm glad you're letting us. But this video does encompass all 3 schools, and we really wanted you to hear from the kids what they learned and the impact it had on them, and as well as our teachers. And so that's what this video is about, from our students and our teachers.
Can I do that? Do I hit the next button? Oh, cool.
Hi, I'm Hudson. And I'm Sasha. We are anchors for the Purdy News team. Welcome to our Arts Impact section. Today we are featuring students from Minter Creek, Discovery, and Purdy Elementary Schools.
They will share their experiences with dance, drama, and the visual arts this year, and talk about how arts help them learn.
So sit back,
relax,
and enjoy.
I have loved being a part of the Arts Impact program at Minter Creek this year. It has been so great having the resources and almost permission to kind of add that art to the more traditional core areas of learning how to read, learning how to write, learning math and science. It has just been so great to be more intentional about adding that artistic piece to
I
it.
learned that there's more than one way to teach and more than one way to learn. And art can be used to learn things that are not art, so math, for example.
Arts Impact has influenced me as an educator in that I can try to integrate art into other areas and not keep it so separated. The students are able to grow and experience things in a different way, looking through a different lens, which makes better connections for them and strengthens their core learning of the concepts.
And I'm glad that we were able to add in arts into our lessons and use our choice boards, because without doing that, my second grader may not have been able to show me what he knew. So I think just bringing out that creativity in them is just magic.
Learning objectives take us there.
There are many ways to get there, as long as you know where you are going.
Great influence on the culture in schools, especially my son's school. I notice we're learning more through music, we're learning more through different mediums, and it's a great way to approach different learners and even teachers and finding a new way to present information to students. And it's been an awesome experience for everybody.
Piggy's voice, we just say really 5 times. Here we go. So here we go. You ready? Pigs, really, 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 really nice job.
like to do visual art and drawing because there's no wrong answer, there's no wrong way to do it. Now you can express yourself in a different way. You don't have to just do what everyone else is doing, but you can put yourself into what you're doing. Because you can express yourself however you want. And also it's accessible for all grades.
Art helps me as a student by teaching me that art is a part of being life. So if you wanted to be an artist, which that is what I would like to do, it helps you in knowing how to do art better. It teaches kids how to be creative. I noticed that it was going to be super fun.
Yeah, art is kind of everything. Music helps me remember stuff because when it gets really catchy and that's easier for me to remember it. Sometimes when I sing the songs a lot, it helps me remember them. B-L-A-C-K spells black like a hat or a bat. B-L-A-C-K spells black like a big fat cat. We can skip, count, or multiply when we sing Anna Banana. Anna Banana played the piano. She wore band-aids on both of her knees. Anna Banana loved the piano. She counted to 30 by threes. 3, 6, 9, 12. We love art!
I'm Owen. And I'm Ivy. We're both Prairie News Team reporters. As you can see, these students learn a lot through the arts.
They experience new ways to learn about math, reading, and writing.
They also learn new things, even when it's outside of their comfort zone.
They discover that the arts can help you grow as a person and gain confidence.
We hope you enjoy this special broadcast.
Thanks for watching!
So that was just a taste of what it is, and throughout that whole thing, you can see just how many kids and families and adults were impacted by this. And so we wanted to end with just some huge thank yous. None of this could have been done without the community and people helping. And so Creston and John, thank you for your support and helping us take risks and encouraging us, the school board for being self-reflective and really looking at what's going on, and we need to know. It takes courage, and you're modeling that to us to really self-analyze and make sure that we're doing what needs to be done. Arts Impact, of course, for their mentorship and professional development and just caring about us and taking care of us. Our teachers and students who also took risks. So you're modeling to us, we hopefully are modeling to them how to take risks and just rocking it. Linda Miller, for your mentorship and leadership and collaboration. We worked a lot with her this year, and she's just phenomenal. Lisa Ray for helping us through some of that grant writing process and supporting us and our teachers, and then finally our parent and community groups just for their unwavering support of our work and helping us through this. So just thank you, and we are done. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
I was just going to say, when we were 2 years ago, almost a year and a half ago, when we were just in the early phases of the strategic plan, one of the things that we really wanted to make sure of was how could we get parents involved, parent engagement, community engagement. Those community culminating projects that you did where you had all those people there is exactly what we were looking for. So well done.
Thank you. It was tons of fun.
I just have an ask. So I know John Yellowlees and I went the day after you had that amazing event, but we had it at the same time that we had a board meeting. And so the next time you do that, can you make sure it's not on a Thursday night, or maybe we'll all go and not have a meeting.
Just have the board meeting at the event. Yeah.
That might push everyone. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it
That
truly was
something we
amazing,
learned.
Christy.
We
Thank you for
apologize.
touring us, and thank you for having the students tour. But that was an event that we all would have really walked away with, being better people, I think. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment? I just want to thank thank Todd and Christy. They have worked really hard, and sometimes the people that are up at the top don't get the gratitude that we all feel, and we don't share enough with you how much we appreciate you for all you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to pile on a little bit on the culminating event. I wasn't able to go, but my husband went, and he said it was the best. Like not the science fair is not cool, but he said it was the best parent event he'd ever seen in his life. And just I don't know who coordinated that. Like, was it just spontaneously every grade level got into some competition to have who had the best, continent, and who had the best, you had food, you had visual art, you had music, and then they all rotated through singing songs. It was unbelievable, the amount of coordination that had to have gone into that, and the amount of planning. I mean, the entire school was transformed. I mean, he spent like almost an hour telling me stories about every single hallway, and it was, it looked fantastic. So
thank you. Thanks for sharing that. It really was a whole team. The whole school just worked together, Hannah J can say, and it really was a team effort. And we all had a collective vision of what we wanted, and it just continued to grow. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and then I just have to make a quick connection between, it's so exciting when you see things coming to a central point from different avenues. And so as a preview, we're going to hear next board meeting about the literacy task force and some of the learning we did there. And then I'm watching what you guys are showing, your training about movement, right? And I'm thinking back to one of our task force site visits out to Olala Elementary, where they're talking about science of reading and different techniques. And this one little second grade boy stood up and told us that one of the things he loves about how they are learning to read is they do what he called it sticky learning, which is all of the movement associated with learning to read. And he said and he goes, actually, it's called orthographic mapping. But it's when we move. And we all kind of looked at him, but then he said, but basically it was exactly what you guys are describing, which is, using these very, intentional movements and, to kind of reinforce those pathways of learning. And so it's just so cool that it's coming at it from this direction. It's also coming at it from, a little bit more of an academic way that we saw it in the literacy task force. So that's really exciting.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know what more I can say other than thank you guys for stepping forward. I wish every one of our elementary schools would do this. So you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sticking with the arts theme, I would like to invite Linda Miller up to the podium to share with us her review of our arts program. So where can we grow from this?
Thank you. First, for the opportunity to do this audit. It was a great adventure. And I also want to thank the board for creating the opportunity, and district personnel, building principals, and teachers who have been very gracious with their time and their knowledge to make all of this come together. And I would like to say that because we've had presentations from other folks in the arts tonight, I am not going to focus much at all on the hands-on art or on the Arts Impact program, because they have done it beautifully, and I think you have a very clear picture of what that looks like and how exciting it is. So, good evening, everyone. I am here to present the findings from the audit of the Fine and Performing Arts programs in Peninsula School District. Why did we do an audit? I'm sure all of you recall when the board worked to create a new strategic plan for the district. And one of the things that grew out of that work was a request for an arts audit, and that request was passed on to me through Superintendent Barr. So what did I actually do? And forgive me, I'm going to use a script tonight because I'm trying to condense what was in the substantial report you got into 15 minutes, and I'm challenged. We conducted interviews with teachers, building administrators, and district personnel. I made site visits to every school in the district. In some cases, I had the great pleasure of observing classes, which was great fun. I also became involved with the 3 Arts Impact schools. That included attending training workshops and visiting the classrooms of teachers who were applying the training. I also had the great pleasure of participating in a book group with the principals. With teachers and district personnel, we created an Arts Advisory Council to act as an information hub for teachers and district personnel. This group will also, from time to time, make recommendations to administration on various arts-related issues. So let's look at the findings. They are necessarily truncated here, truncated with a capital T. But they are described in detail in the written report. As we identify issues or needs, it will be important to keep in mind that this audit should only be the first part of a lengthy process of creating a vision, making a plan, and leveraging resources to realize your vision for the arts in Peninsula schools. Ooh, this is different. Did Google do this?
Are you not seeing the right slide?
I am not.
Okay, what is your slide supposed to look like?
My slide should be headed curriculum.
Go down one more.
Next one.
Ah. Okay.
Right?
Thank you. Yes, that's perfect. One thing I'm particularly interested in is curriculum. Curriculum, of course, always has to do with what we teach and the order in which we teach it. I found that there is no adopted curriculum in any of the arts at any level. In secondary music, where music literature is a big part of the curriculum, the music libraries need revision and organization. And because there are no adopted curricula, there are also no curriculum guides for teachers. So what classes do we actually offer at the present? All elementaries, as you've heard, have a music specialist, and students receive instruction in varying amounts at varying numbers of times per week. None have drama or dance, and you have heard that actually my number is wrong there. I knew 3 and learned tonight that there are 4 schools that actually have visual art classes. In the middle schools, there are different numbers of courses and types of courses offered in each of the schools. In the high schools, there are considerable disparities in both type and number of offerings in the arts. Staffing. Here we are talking about teachers. This district should feel fortunate to have master teachers in some arts classes. I have seen some of them work, and they are creating great opportunities for students. However, not all those teaching arts courses are endorsed in the area they are teaching. Some have been pulled from other content areas to teach arts courses. Others are endorsed but teaching outside their specialty. There are a number of part-time teachers. And again, you have some master teachers doing amazing work, creating amazing learning opportunities for students. At all 3 levels, some arts courses are held in rooms not designed for the arts, and some of them are overcrowded. Some are old, and we know that there are discussions and plans in the works to replace Peninsula High School. There are storage issues in many buildings, some more acute than others. For example, in the new elementaries, the teaching spaces are beautiful, and there is good storage, but the storage that exists is not sufficient for the number of instruments that were ordered. And so instruments are being stored in odd places, sometimes in the hall. In the remodeled middle schools, there are also storage issues, particularly where band instruments are concerned. And in their spaces, there are also sound issues. In other words, sound levels. and unsafe decibel levels, particularly in music spaces. The safety concern for me is that every music room should be modified in such a way that the decibel levels never exceed the recommended maximum of 80 decibels. And finally, the district, and this hit me almost as soon as I came here, the district has no performance space in which large events can be held. For instance, events that are combining a number of schools or schools and community. In equipment, in dance, there is no equipment because there is no dance program. In music, some instruments are old and some are of poor quality. In some cases, sound equipment that is critical for music programs is either poorly configured or perhaps not working properly. Some music spaces have no posture chairs. Piano tuning has been happening, but it's been irregular, and no one really can recall when pianos were last regulated. In drama, there is no adequate storage for risers, for sets, for tools, for equipment. Existing lighting is, in some cases, even unsafe, resulting in expensive rentals of lighting equipment to mount the productions that are happening, which have been excellent and real drawing cards for community members. And there is no equipment at all for drama at Henderson because no drama is offered there. In visual art, there are tables and stools that are old and unreliable, sometimes breaking. Lighting is in general okay, but not always enough or adequate for the kind of projects that are being undertaken. Electrical outlets, in some cases they are insufficient, and in other cases they are very old and could use attention. Kilns, wheels, and extruders. There are some that are new and are in great shape and are helping students turn out amazing art projects. But there are some that are not working well and are in danger of giving up. And there are some that are not working at all. Oops, did we lose it? Nope, there it is. Communications and budget. Among teachers, there is a universal desire for better district-level communications and for more PLC time with job-alike people to work on curriculum alignment to both horizontal and vertical, and to work on collaboration and sharing and a lot of different kinds of things, scheduling and calendars that are very important in those areas. And there is a universal desire for a supervisor or coordinator of the arts. And they really were passionate about a person who is an artist and understands the languages, equipment, and issues that accompany each art, and who can serve as an advocate for them. They would also like to have more input into how funds are allocated. In some cases, they've felt that they have not been used as effectively as they could, and they felt that they could help use funds more effectively if they had more input, and that input was seriously considered in the decision-making process. I was also invited to make recommendations for things the board might consider moving forward with an updated vision and plan for arts education in the district. Again, there's a lot here. It should not be seen as something that has to be done overnight or even in 1 year. You may choose to do many different things than the things that I will recommend tonight, but Careful, thoughtful, creative planning will be needed to achieve a robust arts program. So in curriculum, it's important to either create or adopt a full curriculum for all levels in all arts. I put elementary here and I started with that, but it really needs to happen at all levels. A curriculum is kind of provides guideposts and provides resources and provides things that take a little bit of work off of teacher plates, so that they have what they need to teach the lessons they want to teach, the concepts and the skills. And skills are important in the arts. They're a big part of what needs to be taught. The adoption of the curriculum can partly be accomplished through work that teachers might do in job-alike PLC time. That's why this time is so important, not just to get together, not only to problem solve, but to really work on curriculum issues. They can work on horizontal alignment, and as I think Melissa perhaps mentioned, the knowing what happens in 5th grade so we know what needs to happen in 6th grade. That vertical alignment is equally important. I strongly recommend the creation of a central music library, and perhaps drama too, if the schools own their own scripts, and I am not aware of that. I think most of them are rented. But if all pieces of music in the district were in one central location, then every piece would be potentially available to every teacher to choose for programming their performances. And this could really help to alleviate the stress of having limited funds with which to buy music each year. That, of course, means that there needs to be a music librarian who can do that work of cataloging and getting information out to teachers, of checking music in and out, and those sorts of things. And it's really important. I can't tell you, when I first began teaching, wow, a curriculum guide was my best friend. And a curriculum guide also helps ensure that most of what we want to happen in terms of the teaching of concepts and skills will be the same, or will be very similar from classroom to classroom, from teacher to teacher. Not identical, not approached in exactly the same way, but the same concepts. And I'm sorry, that's my watch. So, course offerings. This is a tricky area. Course offerings need to take into account many factors that don't need to be, and they don't need to be totally identical at every school. But in the name of equity, I believe the following guidelines are important. At every elementary, students should go to music class or any art class, any of the arts, for a consistent class length and a consistent number of times per week. One of the things we know from brain science is that if learning is not reinforced within a 72-hour period, it does not go to long-term memory. So those scheduling issues are really important. Are they easy? No, they are not easy, but they're really important for kids to have that access. There should be basic education in all the arts, and this can be achieved in a number of ways, as you have seen. But please note that even in the arts impact work, one of the keys to the success of that program is that trained artists were leading that work. The training, the mentoring, all of those things, which is why certified, endorsed teachers are a critical component of a robust arts program. At the secondary level, there should be consistent basic offerings in each art at all schools. After that, other factors can determine whether more sections are needed, whether a school might want to offer advanced courses or a series of courses. However these decisions are made, there should be every effort to offer sufficient sections that no one has to be on a waiting list and that any student who wishes can take an arts class without overcrowding. Staffing. Staffing recommendations can really be summed up in one simple statement: get the best. This might mean for everyone in the district, certainly in the district office and perhaps even with assistance from the school board, reaching out beyond your community, reaching out beyond the South Sound, maybe even reaching out beyond your state in your education network to find people who are highly qualified and who are a good fit for your district. There's no substitute. Avoid pulling teachers from other content areas. If you have to do split assignments of an endorsed teacher, with that teacher being at one building in the morning and one in the afternoon, for instance, this is still preferable to pulling teachers from other content areas to teach an arts class. Avoid part-time teachers as much as possible. I know that's not always possible, but it's important because everyone, if you look, knows that it's impossible for a part-time teacher to be as integrated into the life of the school as it is for a full-time teacher. In music, it's important to be aware that musicians are weird. We all kind of know that, but musicians are very highly specialized, and so they are trained in one area of music. So, for instance, a band teacher isn't necessarily qualified to teach choir, and vice versa. In facilities, address the safety issues first. Safety first, always. The sound issue is the one that, to me, is by far the most critical. Getting that decibel level under control is an important thing. Storage issues. In some cases, there are hazards there because there isn't adequate room to store big pieces of equipment or big instruments and that kind of thing that potentially could fall and be a hazard for students even. Overcrowding is an issue that will have to be worked on over time and with some real creative work and insight. Lighting and electrical issues. In drama, there are some actual safety issues with lights, and so they are not used, and instead, expensive rentals are happening. Electrical outlets in some of the visual art areas are not adequate in number, and some of them are aging. And I encourage you, even though we know PHS is slated to be replaced at some point, please don't leave them out when you are looking for workarounds. They need some workarounds too while they are waiting for that new school to be built, and I know it's going to be amazing. Here's my big challenge to you, my really terrific big challenge. I think it would be the most amazing thing for you to work with the community, with business partners, with parents, with patrons, with anyone outside, with granting agencies, and create a performing arts center that could be used by the schools and by the community to host large events that would have appropriate seating, appropriate lighting, and appropriate space. It would be a big project and a long project, but what it would do for your community, I think, would be wonderful. In equipment, there needs to be a rotating cycle of regular assessment of what needs to be repaired or replaced. And regular maintenance needs to be scheduled where it's appropriate, such as with kilns or with pianos. And then there needs to be a process for people to request repairs and replacements on a regular basis, and of course, money set aside for those repairs and replacements to happen. Adequate safe storage for all equipment in every art is also of critical importance. So in communication and budget, find some way, and again, creative scheduling will be needed, but for job-alike teachers to communicate regularly with each other. Establish clear and responsive lines of communication with district-level folks for arts teachers. and create an arts supervisor or coordinator position. This one I almost put an exclamation point behind because the teachers I spoke with were so adamant about their need for this kind of a position. And again, this person should be an artist who understands the vocabulary, the equipment, and the scope and sequence of the content in the arts. Prioritize and earmark funds specifically for the arts, and then seek teacher input in apportioning those funds in the most effective way possible. And finally, please take time to really digest all of the information in the report. Take time to decide exactly what you want arts programs to look like in Peninsula School District. When that vision is clear, please take the time needed to make a well-crafted plan. This may end up being as much as a 5 to 10-year plan, depending on what you choose to do. When you have that plan completed, gather your partners and your resources and go to work creating an arts program that will be the envy of other districts and the pride of your arts-conscious community. This is what the arts look like right now. There is substance, and it is solid, but it is unrefined, it has rough edges, and is kind of uneven. The plan you construct can take this unrealized potential and polish it into an enviable gem that is the pride of your district and your community. Thank you. I appreciate the time to be here and to report to you and to the community. And this has been an amazing piece of work, and it has been a year-long process in which I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of wonderful educators and building principals who are so arts supportive. So thank you.
Dr. Linda Miller, will you introduce yourself? We never really introduced you.
I'm sorry.
So who are you,
Yes.
and where do you come from?
Okay. Well, I just poofed in here. My name is Linda Miller. I chair the music education area at Pacific Lutheran University. I have taught every level, pre-K through graduate studies, and have been in and out of K-12 and higher education for more years than I want to tell you. It's like I measure it in decades now. And I am super duper passionate about every kid having access to every art at some point in their education, and as much of it as they want to have. I believe there are ways to do that. I am happy to make myself available to the board at any time if you want clarifications or you want me to expand on something that's in the report. I mean, when I wrote that, I felt like I probably could have written 200 pages, but you really didn't want to read that much. So, again, thank you for the privilege of doing this and bringing these things to your attention and the attention of the community. It's been a privilege, and I know that you have a lot of willing teachers who want to jump in and help to realize a really robust arts program in this district. Anybody have questions?
You're an auditor, I just wonder if...
So you will be sent the report. We wanted her to be able to present, so you may have questions later.
Questions, I just don't know if they should be to her, to you. So,
You want to read the report first?
You may want to read the report and digest it.
There are lots of details in the report, and I did speak about the Arts Impact Program in the report, and also certainly about the Hands-on Art Program, both of which are wonderful assets. But again, there's much, much more detail in the report.
yeah, I would just say my overall impression is your report is amazing, and I'm extremely disappointed in the results of your report. There's just, I'll have plenty of questions. I wish it was a better report. So very disappointed. So,
But
you did
look
an
at the
amazing job.
Look at the potential that's here. I think that's what you need to focus on. There is enormous potential. And so we just need to figure out the best ways to realize that potential and make the things happen that you really want to see, that you'd like to hear in a report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for our presentations tonight. So we are now on to item 8, which is old business, of which there is none. Item 9, 9.2, we have board committee reports. Does anyone have anything to report on that?
We had our last literacy task force meeting, but I'm not going to report on that because you'll hear it at the next board meeting. That's all.
Nothing for you? Nothing? All right, so item 9.3, which we added tonight, the civility in the workplace policy 5161. Jennifer, do you want to talk about why we pulled it from consent and added it here?
Yeah, it had a lot more substance to it, I think, than some of the other ones that seemed a bit more procedural, and it was kind of classified as a discretionary, which doesn't mean we shouldn't have it, but in my mind, it would be worth a little bit more time to read over. So that's all.
So have it be a first reading?
Yeah, just a first reading. That's all.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
All right. Well, what a night of arts. I really appreciated Dr. Miller coming in and looking from an objective, systemic point of view, and the report is quite extensive. Thank you for not having it 200 pages, Linda. But really having a conversation about what it is that we want and enhancing what we have now and looking at equitably across the district. I know that she spoke to many, many staff members, and I know that the staff were really appreciative of being asked questions. So what is happening? This is the last board meeting before graduation. I can't even believe it. So just a few things I'd like to highlight. Voyager TK visit on Monday. We had multiple legislators, both federal and state. We also had the governor's office and the Gig Harbor Chamber. Boy, it was pretty fun. If you have not been out to that site, they have 2 basic sites plus Kopachuk State Park across the street. And so I'm very proud of that program as well as all of our TKs, and also went out to Evergreen later that afternoon to see their outside site. And it's hard to believe that that was a conceptual idea this time last year. And it opened up in October and has served children and will continue to serve children. So I just really want to thank the educators, the staff, the teachers and paraprofessionals that have been spearheading that TK program, and for saying yes, for doing things a little bit differently. And I know that our families have been very appreciative. I was really struck with the parent quotes and what services and how it's changing lives to get students ready for that kindergarten. And I know Todd and I had a conversation earlier today about how his TK program is really setting our students up for success, for them to walk into kindergarten and ready to go. I want to thank publicly Heron's Key for their scholarship luncheon. They gave scholarships to so many of our students and our seniors, but even moreover, had the opportunity to go with the 2 high school principals from Gig Harbor and Peninsula High School, and all of the students were highlighted, and they got to meet so many wonderful mentors. So we are very lucky to have that organization in our community. Every time I go there, I'm more inspired because they are people who have spent their lives being very successful, and now they really want to give back. And their legacy really is education and inspiring youth. So pretty amazing. as we said, Executive Bruce Stanmeyer for Pierce County visited 3 of our schools, and really there were 3 schools, but really 3 emphasis. I wanted him to see high school and to talk with our high school juniors and seniors. He wanted to know about how COVID, how are they navigating now coming out of COVID and the worldwide pandemic. And so we were toured by 2 leaders at Gig Harbor, and boy, they told him what they did during COVID and what they didn't do during COVID. He got the full meal deal, and we got to go to an astronomy class and talk about astrophysicists. So that was wonderful. We also went to Discovery, and I only had a certain amount of time, so I wanted a condensed kind of school tour. So in Discovery, we saw hands-on art, and we saw the octopus being made, and we saw all of that. We also heard from teachers how they were infusing art, just all of the classroom teachers, and it was pretty amazing. He walked away, I mean, he just was very stunned. And then we went to Pioneer, and they were getting ready for the egg drop, and there were all kinds of STEAM activities going on. And I think Bruce walked away pretty impressed. He said, I can't even believe that within just this little area, and I said, and then you multiply it with all of the schools. So he had a really great time, and he asked really good questions, the students said. Really good and important questions. So I really appreciate him. The Maritime Parade, many of us were there. Boy, that was fun. There were thousands of children. And again, we had 20 huge bags of candy, and again, we ran out. So I don't know. Some people were giving out multiples, I think. I was a little stingy about it, I think. But this is my first year, so that was amazing, and just the best weather. I don't think we could ask for better weather. But then the next day, I went to the Blessing of the Fleet and the car show. This is such a community of people who go above and beyond, and tradition and future. I mean, I just can't even say enough. I told my husband, who was back there and has left, I told him, I said, I didn't think I'd have that much fun. And it was so fun. And we brought our grandchildren, and they think Gig Harbor is like the most fun place. You come, you get candy, you see boats, pirates, like what more do you need? We participated in the color run today, and I'm getting smarter, and I live here now, so I can go take a shower. But I just want to thank Discovery VPO. I'm looking right at her. And it was so much fun. The kids had so much fun. The fire department came and sprayed us, which I don't know if I like that part. But there are so many events in all of these schools that the community is coming out. The parents are just volunteering left and right. And so, boy, it just feels like this is the end of, this is the year that we are really coming out of something that I think we all as adults are really kind of stunned that, okay, that actually happened. And now it's full on activity. It has been so joyful. So I want to thank you, and my hair thanks you. I'd like to just end this by saying next week will really be important. It will be our seniors' last days. They're getting ready for graduation. Our TK, I know I'm going to a TK graduation at Minter tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon. But also, we have so many amazing people retiring. We have our retirement. It will be the second time, I believe, that we've had it district-wide. I want to thank Tanya and the team for planning that, but we really have amazing staff, and so to celebrate that next week. And with that, I just want to thank everyone. The last day of school will be June 21st, and our next board meeting is June 22nd. So we are anticipating we might have a drop in enrollment at the board meeting, but we may not as well. Thank you.
Okay, board discussion and comments. Lori, do you want to start this time? We missed you last time. Sure.
Thank you. Well, as was mentioned, I also had a blast at the color run, and I will just say that the volume of water that comes out of a fire hose, I think you would really appreciate if your home was on fire. But when you're running under it, it's a spectacular experience. But the kids were just squealing. I have this great video, and I was just thinking of all the things they didn't get to do in the last few years. So good job, you and everyone there. It was fantastic. I, like all of us, I'm sure, have been to several things in the last few weeks, but another highlight was the Salon Day at Henderson Bay High School. That is certainly, I don't know if it's entirely put on, I think it is, by Communities and Schools of Peninsula, and particularly Robin Molich, who does a fantastic job recruiting just all kinds of volunteers. There was tons of folks there cutting hair and they had a hair washing station, and then just all these different, but it's also just decorated like an actual spa. So it's the whole experience, and there's so many just donated items. Like I happened to watch one girl kind of through the process, and she got her hair styled in a completely different way. So then Robin says, well, you can choose a flat iron or a whatever, and these things are just all donated, and it's just a fantastic to just get them ready for graduation or whatever, the job interviews or whatnot. So it was just a lot of joy, and that was really cool. And then last, just a comment about, I should have said it when they were still here, but the very beginning of the meeting when we did the community service varsity letters. Community service, I think, is just the centerpiece of what makes society great. And this shouldn't make me emotional, but I do think that just one comment about it, and those kids already know because they just got awards for doing so many hours, especially in this time of a lot of emotional struggles and people of all ages really struggling to find joy and purpose. Helping someone else, I think, is often a way, no matter how old you are, to really find joy in places you never expected, especially if you're helping someone who cannot do for themselves the thing that you can do for them. And so I just would say, kudos to them, and I think that's a fantastic award. That is all.
I'll just throw some. I just say I really appreciated as a very, very strong supporter of the arts from day one on the board. I really appreciate the presentations tonight and all the hard work that went into the audit. My daughter's a Lute, and she really enjoyed her time at POU. My wallet didn't, but she sure did. Unfortunately, I missed my first maritime gig parade in many, many years, but my Lute daughter got NASCAR tickets and invited me down to a NASCAR race, and I had to take the NASCAR with my daughter. But so that was a lot of fun. This, as Kristen said, is coming up, ramping up to really the culmination and most exciting part of the year, with all the various graduations and fun events. Just gonna be bang, 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 bang for a while, and looking forward to getting up there on the stage and watching all those graduates, and just they have no idea what's about to come, So, but no, it's I'm just excited about this time of the year. So, but that's all I have. Thanks.
I'll be quick. I want thank you very much, Linda, for the audit, and I think kind of digesting a lot of it for the first time. This is the first time we've heard this, and I think it's easy to be discouraged by the findings, but I actually am. I'm actually very, very optimistic, because I don't know that we've ever done this. Has there ever been an audit? And so to have the courage to do that and to be willing to be reflective like that is a huge step. We haven't had the consistency of leadership to be able to get to this point to even look at what we have. And so thank you, Creston, for supporting the board's desire to understand our arts programs. And I think the fact that we don't have curriculum, that we don't have these programs, doesn't mean we don't have art, as we just saw. We have incredible art opportunities, and that is entirely a function of our incredible staff. I've had children at a couple of schools, and at every school they've been in, they have come home with so much amazing experiences and products of their arts education. And a particular shout out to Hands on Art. I don't know that a program like that exists anywhere else in any other district. And, you know, it's such a unique thing to the Peninsula School District that you go into anybody's house and oh, there's the salmon. Oh, there's the giacometti. Oh, there's the Mount Tahoma, you know? And it's just like, it's another one of those traditions and one of those things that makes this such a special place. And that program is so powerful in what it can do. So, you know, I guess I appreciate very much that we are embarking on this journey, and I thank you for couching that in the language of it's a process, and that it is an unmolded clay, and that, you know, I would hope our educators are optimistic, because what the incredible work they've been doing for so long in the arts, hey, let's get some systems to support them. Let's actually now be intentional about it. Let's start to, you know, support the great work they've been doing for so long. So I'm really excited about this going forward in the next several years. That's all.
I'm always in awe of the people that we have here in this district. The teachers, the principals, the admin, the passion and the compassion that they have for this job, and how they're able to do so much with so little. The Arts Impact presentation, just, it spoke volumes to me. I know we can do so much more. And I want to thank you, Linda, for doing that audit, for giving us that insight. And yeah, we've never done this before, and so it's great that we're opened ourselves up to this, that we can move forward and recognize the needs that we have. Money's tight. Money's tight everywhere. Costs are up, but somehow we'll manage to figure out how to do this. We'll manage somehow, because of the amazing people that we have. So that's all I have.
Well, very well said, all of you. I don't think I have anything to add that wouldn't be repeating. So thank you, Linda. Thank you to our teachers who are here. I wish they were still here so that they could hear the amazing accolades, and that our hope is just to continue giving them support, doing what they do best with our kids. And our job really is to be those advocates and work on those bills that have been passed, that have named art as a basic education, and making sure that our state fully funds those opportunities for our students. So our next meeting will be June 22nd, the day after the last day of school, here at Swiftwater at 6:00 p.m. And with that, we are adjourned at 8:41.